There are moments in life when something utterly ordinary becomes the turning point of everything. When a regular school morning, a cool breeze, and the rustle of autumn leaves give way to a secret buried beneath years of silence. It was supposed to be a simple K9 training session, nothing out of the ordinary. But that morning, behind a small-town elementary school, a police dog named Ranger stopped dead in his tracks. His ears pricked up, his body tensed, and his eyes locked on a moss-covered stone well hidden behind a rusting chain-link fence. No one had looked at that well in decades, let alone gone near it. But Ranger sensed something. Something that would shake this quiet town to its core. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, or the unwavering loyalty of animals, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Justice on Paws. Let's spread stories that matter, stories that heal, inspire, and bring us together. Ranger wasn't just any dog. He was a 5-year-old German Shepherd with a record of distinction in search and rescue. But more than that, Ranger had a soul that connected with pain, silence, and secrets. He had been rescued himself, once a neglected pup abandoned on the roadside, now a trained K9 working alongside Officer Daniel Harris, a man who also knew what it meant to be broken and rebuilt. Daniel had lost his wife 3 years earlier to cancer. He hadn't spoken much since, except to Ranger. Their bond went beyond handler and dog, it was as if they kept each other breathing. That morning, they were scheduled to do a school safety demonstration, showing kids how K9 units worked. But as they walked behind the school for a warm-up drill, Ranger froze. His snout pointed toward the old well, and he let out a low, almost mournful whine. Officer Harris followed his gaze. The stone was cracked, overgrown with moss. Fallen leaves blanketed the ground, and for a moment, everything seemed still. Ranger stepped forward cautiously, sniffed the edge, and then barked, sharp, urgent. Harris stepped closer, looked inside, and felt his breath catch. Deep in the shadows, something glinted. Not metal. Not trash. Something else. The fire department was called. Their well was cordoned off. Teachers, now visibly shaken, stood with their hands over their mouths. Kids were kept inside. A camera crew from the local news station arrived before long. As the fireman lowered a small camera into the darkness, the feed showed something that left everyone silent. At the bottom of the well, buried beneath crumbled stone and damp earth, were 2 small shoes, and what appeared to be bones. Human bones. Time stopped. What came next was a flurry of police tape, forensic teams, and historians. The remains were old, at least 30 years, possibly more. They belonged to a young boy, estimated to be 6 or 7 years old. No official records of a missing child in the area from that time matched. It was as if he had simply disappeared, and no one had noticed. But someone had once cared. A breakthrough came when a retired janitor saw the news and came forward. Mr. Lyle Donahue, now 87, remembered a boy named Tommy who used to follow him around after school in 1989. He was quiet. Kept to himself, Donahue said, always looked a little hungry, a little cold. Never talked much. Then one day, he just didn't show up again. No one had reported him missing. It was a different time, and not every child had someone to speak for them. But Ranger had spoken now. The town held its breath as a DNA match was eventually found through distant relatives. Tommy had been a foster child, passed from home to home. Forgotten in life, nearly lost in death. But not anymore. Ranger had found him. Had given him a name. A voice. The town rallied together like never before. Donations poured in to give Tommy a proper burial. A memorial plaque was placed near the well, which was sealed with flowers and stones bearing messages from children who wanted to say sorry and goodbye. But something else changed too. People started seeing Ranger differently, not just as a dog, but as a living reminder that justice has many forms, and sometimes it wears fur and walks on 4 legs. Officer Harris felt it too. For the first time since his wife's passing, he allowed himself to cry in public. It wasn't just grief anymore, it was release. Watching Ranger lay beside the small white casket at the funeral, Harris whispered, "You didn't just find a boy. You found the piece of me I thought I'd lost." Since then, Ranger's story has gone viral. Not for the mystery, not for the crime, but for the love, the pure, tireless love that only an animal can give. Ranger reminded the world that no matter how long someone is forgotten, they still matter. That no soul deserves to vanish without a trace. And sometimes, the ones who save us wear badges. Sometimes they wear fur. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share this video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Justice on Paws. These stories remind us that love never stops searching, hope never gives up, and sometimes the quietest voices cry the loudest. Behind a school, beneath the autumn leaves, one dog's bark rewrote history. And in doing so, he gave a boy a name, and a town a second chance at compassion.